People don't value what they believe will always be there. It's human nature. The mind becomes accustomed to things that seem constant, reliable, and ever present. Think about it. When you have something at your disposal every single day, you stop seeing its worth. It blends into the background. No longer something you consciously appreciate. But the moment it starts slipping away, the moment you feel like it could be gone forever, something shifts inside you. Suddenly you want it more than ever. You panic. You rethink everything. That's how the mind works. This is exactly why making someone feel replaced, making them feel as though they no longer have access to you the way they once did, has such a powerful impact. It's not about playing games or manipulating emotions. It's about understanding how perception controls value. When a person believes they have a firm grip on you, they become complacent. They assume you will always be around, always available, always waiting. And the moment someone assumes they have you, they stop putting in effort. They stop trying to impress. They stop fighting to keep you because in their mind there is no urgency. Think about it like this. Imagine walking into a store and seeing a shelf fully stocked with an item. You glance at it, maybe even consider purchasing it. But there's no rush. After all, there are plenty available. You could come back tomorrow and get it if you really wanted to. There's no sense of urgency, no immediate need to act. But now imagine walking into that same store and seeing only one item left. Suddenly you feel pressure, you feel the urgency. You start wondering if someone else is about to grab it before you do. That fear of loss, that sudden realization that something could be gone in an instant, creates desire, forces action. This is how people operate in relationships as well. If someone is constantly present, constantly reaching out, constantly available, there's no scarcity. Their presence is expected, and when something is expected, it is taken for granted. But the second that presence fades, the second the energy shifts, the availability decreases, the attention is withdrawn, everything changes. The mind enters a state of panic, trying to understand what happened, where the certainty went. When a man believes a woman is always there, he doesn't feel the need to chase. But when that woman starts pulling away, when she stops responding the way she used to, when she seems to be thriving without him, that's when he starts paying attention. He starts questioning himself. He starts wondering if he miscalculated. And the biggest fear sets in, the fear of replacement. Nothing ignites urgency in a person like the possibility of being replaced. The thought of another person stepping in, offering what they once had, giving attention to someone they thought they owned, shakes their entire foundation. It makes them evaluate their own actions, their own neglect, their own failures. It forces them to see what they were blind to before. Now, here's the important part. This shift doesn't happen if you keep giving them the same energy. If you keep reaching out, if you keep checking in, if you keep showing up the way you always have, nothing changes in their mind. They still assume you're there, still believe they have control, they still feel comfortable. And comfort does not breed desire. Comfort does not create urgency. It is the threat of loss, the reality of replacement that forces action. But here's the key. This isn't about pretending. It's not about faking indifference or trying to make someone jealous just for the sake of it. It's about actually shifting your focus away from them. It's about genuinely redirecting your energy toward yourself, toward your goals, toward your growth. When you start doing that, when your attention is no longer fixated on them, they feel it. And that's what makes the difference. See, most people try to get a reaction by forcing change, by posting things to make someone jealous, by dropping hints, by sending indirect messages. But the truth is, the most powerful shift happens when you don't even acknowledge their existence in that way anymore. When they look at you and see that you are genuinely happy, genuinely focused, genuinely investing in yourself, That's when they feel the pressure. That's when they start thinking, wait, she's really moving on. And once that seed is planted in their mind, it grows rapidly. They start noticing things they ignored before. They start remembering the little details they overlooked. They replay old conversations, old moments, trying to understand how they lost their grip. This is what makes them desperate to get it back. The truth is, when someone thinks they have all the time in the world to fix things, they procrastinate. They assume they can come back at any moment. But when they believe the door is closing, when they believe someone else might be stepping in, that's when panic sets in. That's when they start trying. And the irony, by the time they wake up to what they've lost, you might have already realized that you never needed them in the first place. When you detach, you shift the entire dynamic of power. The reason most people feel stuck in relationships and situationships or even in breakups is because they remain emotionally tethered to the other person. They are waiting for validation, waiting for closure, waiting for the other person to recognize their worth and come running back. But the problem is, as long as you are waiting, as long as you are attached, you are giving all your power away. You are telling the other person, you still control how I feel. My emotions are still tied to you. You are so. And when someone knows they have that kind of influence over you, they don't feel any urgency to change. Attachment creates weakness. It creates dependency. When you are attached to an outcome, whether that's getting someone back, making them realize your worth, or even just hoping for an apology, you are operating from a place of need. And neediness is repellent. It signals to the other person that they hold all the cards, that they have the final say in whether you are happy or not. And the moment they sense that, the moment they realize they can walk away and you will still be there, still reaching out, still overthinking, they lose all motivation to act differently. But when you detach, you reclaim control. When you remove your emotional investment, when you stop reacting, stop chasing, stop waiting, everything shifts. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, but it does mean you stop needing. It means you stop placing your sense of self-worth in another person's hands. It means that no matter what they do, no matter what decision they make, you are still whole, still in control of yourself, still moving forward with or without them. Think about it like this. Imagine two people in a tug of war. One person is pulling with all their strength, trying to bring the other closer. The harder they pull, the more resistance they face. The other person may even start enjoying the struggle because they feel the control, they feel the power of knowing someone is desperately trying to hold on to them. But what happens the moment you let go of the rope? The struggle ends. The person on the other side is thrown off balance. They no longer have anything to push against. They no longer feel that resistance that gave them a sense of control. This is what happens when you detach. The moment you stop playing the game, the moment you stop giving your energy away, the other person is forced to face a new reality. One where you are no longer there, no longer emotionally available, no longer invested in their decisions. And that is unsettling. That is what makes them start questioning things. That is what makes them wonder, did I lose something valuable? Did I take them for granted? Why aren't they reacting the way they used to? See, people expect reactions. They expect you to get emotional. They expect you to beg, to explain, to seek closure, to prove yourself. And when you don't, when you simply move differently, act differently, carry yourself differently, that's when they start paying attention. That's when they start feeling the void your absence creates. Because before they had control over your emotions, before they knew exactly how you would react. But now you are unpredictable. Now you are silent. Now you are focused on yourself instead of them. Detachment is not about being cold or heartless. It is about recognizing your own power. It is about understanding that your worth is not determined by how someone else treats you. It is about knowing that you don't have to prove your value to anyone. The right people will see it, and the wrong people will lose access to you. And here's the thing. When you detach, you automatically increase your value. When you are no longer desperate for someone's attention, they start wondering why. They start questioning what changed. Because human nature is simple. We want what we feel we can't fully have. We chase what is slightly out of reach. We value what seems exclusive. The moment you stop making yourself overly available, the moment you stop proving your worth, the moment you stop chasing, you become the one who is desired. Detachment doesn't mean you don't love or care. It simply means that your happiness is no longer dependent on another person's presence. It means that you have reached a place where you are content with or without them. And that is the most powerful position to be in. When someone senses that they are no longer the center of your world, when they realize you are not waiting on them to make a decision, when they see that you are still thriving, still moving forward, still elevating, that's when they start feeling the weight of your absence. That's when they start questioning everything. The beauty of detachment is that it shifts the burden of worry onto the other person. Instead of you sitting there wondering what they're thinking, if they miss you, if they regret anything, now it's them doing the wondering. Now it's them feeling the uncertainty. Now it's them questioning their own choices. Because they expected you to stay attached. They expected you to wait. But instead, you've evolved. You've redirected your energy. You've taken back your power. And in doing so, you force them to see what they never saw before. Scarcity creates value. The more accessible something is, the less people appreciate it. When something is rare, exclusive, or difficult to obtain, people naturally desire it more. This principle applies to every aspect of life. Luxury goods, exclusive experiences, and most importantly, human relationships. People chase what feels unattainable. They crave what is slipping away. They become obsessed with what they think they can't have. And that's why if someone feels like they can lose you, they will work harder to keep you. If they believe that their position in your life is not guaranteed, they will do whatever it takes to secure it. Most people make the mistake of giving away their time, their energy, their emotions without any boundaries. They believe that the more they give, the more they will be valued. But that's not how human psychology works. When something is always available, always saying yes, always waiting, it loses its impact. The person on the receiving end starts assuming that no matter what they do, you will always be there. And the moment someone assumes they have you, they stop putting in effort. They stop seeing you as a priority. They start treating you as an option rather than a necessity. Now think about how people behave when they feel they're about to lose something valuable. When a person realizes that they may no longer have easy access to you, their entire perspective changes. What was once taken for granted suddenly becomes precious. What was once dismissed now holds meaning. The mind starts working overtime, trying to figure out why the dynamic shifted, why the energy changed, why the certainty is gone. And that's when the chase begins. It's not manipulation. It's understanding value. When you make yourself less available, when you stop over-explaining, over-giving, over-compensating, you force the other person to evaluate their own actions. You create space for them to reflect. And in that space, they begin to feel the absence of what they once had. They begin to understand that if they do not act, if they do not correct their mistakes, if they do not make an effort, they could lose you completely. Think about relationships where one person does all the work. They text first. They initiate conversations. They make all the plans. They adjust their schedule to accommodate the other person. At first, it might seem like dedication, but over time, it breeds imbalance. The person on the receiving end grows comfortable. They stop appreciating the effort because it has become routine. But the moment that effort is withdrawn, the moment that energy is redirected, everything shifts. Suddenly, they are the ones checking their phone, wondering why you haven't reached out. They are the ones feeling uneasy, realizing that something has changed. Humans respond to contrast. If something has always been there, we don't think about it. But the moment it disappears, we start craving it. We start seeking it out. The absence creates longing. That's why people often don't realize what they had until it's gone. But here's the truth. It's not really about losing someone. It's about realizing that they never actually had you in the way they assumed they did. They were comfortable, complacent, expecting you to always be available. But when you remove that certainty, when you create scarcity, they are forced to acknowledge your value in a way they never did before. This is where people get confused. They think that to create scarcity, they need to pretend to be busy, act uninterested, or play games. But that's not real scarcity. Real scarcity happens when you genuinely shift your priorities. When you stop centering someone else in your life and start focusing on yourself. When your time becomes valuable, not because you are trying to make someone jealous, but because you are actually investing in yourself. That's when the energy changes. That's when people start taking notice. And the irony is, when you stop chasing, when you stop waiting, when you stop proving your worth, that's when people start realizing what they missed. That's when they start putting in the effort they should have given from the start. Because they see you differently. They no longer see you as someone who is readily available, always waiting, always giving without receiving. They see you as someone who is moving forward with or without them. And nothing is more powerful than that. When a person believes they could be replaced, when they feel that their spot in your life is not guaranteed, they will do everything in their power to secure it. They will try harder. They will show up in ways they never did before. Because they realize they don't have unlimited chances. They don't have all the time in the world. They understand that you are not waiting. You are not begging. You are not hoping for them to see your worth. You already know your worth. And that forces them to step up. People value what they have to earn. They respect what is not easily accessible. They fight for what they feel they could lose. The moment you start living in a way that prioritizes your own happiness, your own success, your own personal growth, you naturally create an energy that demands attention. You become the person they can't stop thinking about. Not because you're trying to make them feel that way, but because you have finally recognized your own value. And when you recognize your value, the world follows. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use in any situation. Most people underestimate the impact of saying nothing. They feel the urge to respond, to explain, to seek validation, to defend themselves. But in doing so, they give away their power. They reveal their emotions, their thoughts, and their vulnerabilities. And when someone knows exactly what you're thinking, exactly how you feel, exactly how much you care, they have the upper hand. They control the situation. They dictate the pace. When you go silent, you create uncertainty. You disrupt expectations. You force the other person to sit with their own thoughts, to question, to wonder, to analyze. People expect reactions. They expect explanations. They expect you to reach out, to ask questions, to seek closure. And when you don't, that's when the real shift happens. That's when they start feeling the void of your absence. Silence makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to fill in the gaps. And the human mind does not like uncertainty. It craves answers. It seeks closure. It needs to understand what's happening. So when you pull back, when you remove your energy, when you stop explaining, the other person is left with nothing but their own thoughts. And that is where the power lies. Because instead of you chasing, instead of you proving, instead of you over-explaining, now they are the ones trying to figure things out. Now they are the ones second-guessing. Now they are the ones feeling the unease that you once felt. Most people operate from a place of emotional reactivity. The moment they feel ignored, they reach out. The moment they feel misunderstood, they explain. The moment they feel disrespected, they react. But all of that gives power to the other person. It tells them, I need you to understand me. I need you to acknowledge me. I need you to validate my emotions. But what happens when you stop needing that? What happens when you stop explaining? What happens when you simply let your silence speak for itself? That's when everything changes. Silence makes a statement louder than words ever could. It communicates strength. It communicates self-respect. It communicates that you are in control of yourself, your emotions, and your decisions. And the moment someone sees that you are no longer reacting the way they expected, they begin to feel the shift. They begin to wonder why. They begin to question their own actions. They begin to realize that they may have miscalculated your value. People don't appreciate what is always accessible. They don't respect what is always explained. They don't value what is constantly available. But the moment something becomes scarce, the moment something becomes unpredictable, the moment something becomes mysterious, it becomes desirable. This is human nature. We chase what eludes us. We crave what we cannot fully have. We value what feels exclusive. When you choose silence over reaction, you put yourself in a position of power. You make the other person feel your absence in a way that words never could. They may not admit it immediately. They may act as if they don't care. They may even try to provoke a reaction just to see if you will break your silence. But the longer you hold your ground, the more they feel it. The more they start to question, the more they start to feel the weight of your absence. And this is where most people fail. They break their silence too soon. They let emotions take over. They give in to the need for closure, for validation, for understanding. But silence is only effective when you commit to it fully, when you hold it long enough for the other person to truly feel the difference. When you let them sit in their own thoughts, when you let them wonder, when you let them feel the uncertainty that you once felt, that is when the real power of silence reveals itself. The key is understanding that silence is not about manipulation. It is not about playing games. It is about self-mastery. It is about controlling your emotions instead of letting them control you. It is about recognizing that you do not have to respond to everything. You do not have to explain yourself to people who do not value your presence. You do not have to seek understanding from those who refuse to see your worth. Silence is an energy shift. It is a refusal to engage in cycles that drain you. It is a declaration that you are no longer available for anything that does not align with your self-worth. And the moment someone realizes they no longer have easy access to you, they feel it. They notice it. They start questioning things they never questioned before. Most people think silence means nothing is happening. But in reality, silence creates more movement than words ever could. It forces the other person to take action. It makes them realize what they had. It makes them question their own behavior. It makes them wonder what changed. And that curiosity, that uncertainty, that feeling of not knowing where they stand with you, that is what makes them act. When you master the art of silence, you master the art of control. You stop reacting to every emotion, to every slight, to every disappointment. You learn to sit in your power. You learn to let your absence speak for itself. You learn that sometimes the best response is no response at all. And when you reach that level of self-mastery, when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself, to seek validation, to react, you become the one in control. And in that control, you find true power. When you shift your focus away from them and fully invest in yourself, everything changes. The moment you stop making someone else the center of your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy, you reclaim your power. People can feel when they are your priority, just as they can feel when they are no longer the focus of your world. And the truth is, nothing unsettles someone more than realizing they are no longer in control of your attention. Attention is energy. Wherever you direct it, you are feeding that thing with power. When you pour your energy into someone who does not reciprocate, you create an imbalance. You give them the upper hand. They know you are waiting. They know you are hoping. They know you are available. And because they know, they become comfortable. They no longer feel urgency. They no longer feel the need to work for your presence. But the moment you redirect that energy, the dynamic shifts. The balance of power moves. And the other person begins to feel something they haven't felt in a long time. Uncertainty. They start questioning what's happening. They start wondering why you're no longer reaching out the way you used to. They start noticing the difference in your responses, your energy, your focus. They feel the absence of what they once took for granted. This isn't about trying to make someone jealous. It's not about playing games. It's about genuinely shifting your focus inward to yourself, to your growth, to your life. Because when you do that, you naturally radiate a different energy. One that is magnetic, one that is powerful, one that commands respect. You stop chasing, and as a result, you become the one who is pursued. People notice change. They may not acknowledge it immediately, but they feel it. When you stop responding instantly, when you stop over-explaining, when you stop making excuses for their behavior, they notice. When you no longer prioritize them over your own needs, they feel it. When your attention is no longer solely on them, they start wondering where it is going instead. And this curiosity is what creates a shift in their mind. Humans have a natural desire to be important. We all want to feel valued, desired, irreplaceable. But when someone realizes they are no longer a priority, that feeling of security vanishes. They begin to feel what you once felt. They begin to experience the discomfort of not knowing. They begin to wonder if they have lost their place in your life. And that's when their behavior changes. That's when they start reaching out, checking in, trying to regain the connection that once felt so effortless. The most attractive thing in the world is someone who is completely focused on their own life, their own growth, their own happiness. There is something undeniably powerful about a person who does not need external validation, who does not wait for someone else's attention, who moves forward regardless of who is watching. That kind of energy is intoxicating. It draws people in. It makes them want to be part of whatever you are building. But here's the catch. This only works if your focus shift is genuine. If you are only pretending to move on, if you are only acting busy to get a reaction, the energy will not be the same. People can sense when they are still the center of your world, even if you are trying to hide it. The key is to actually move forward, to actually invest in yourself, to actually become so engaged with your own life that you no longer have the time, the space, or the desire to wait for someone else to figure out your worth. And when that happens, the entire game changes. You become the person they cannot stop thinking about. Not because you are playing mind games, but because you have genuinely elevated yourself to a place where their absence no longer affects you. And nothing is more powerful than that. When you start focusing on yourself, your energy changes. You start radiating confidence. You start setting boundaries effortlessly. You start making decisions that serve you rather than waiting for someone else to make a decision about you. And when someone sees that you are truly content, truly at peace, truly unbothered, that's when they begin to feel the loss. That's when they realize they no longer have the same hold over you. That's when they start trying to figure out how to get back into your life. But the most important thing to understand is that this transformation is not about them. It's about you. It's about finally understanding that your value is not determined by how much someone else prioritizes you. It's about realizing that the most powerful thing you can do is build a life so fulfilling that no one's presence or absence dictates your happiness. Because the moment you reach that level, you no longer need to chase. You no longer need to prove anything. You simply exist in a state of self-worth that demands respect. And the irony is, once you stop waiting, once you stop needing, once you stop chasing, that's when everything you once wanted starts coming to you effortlessly. Because you are no longer moving from a place of lack. You are moving from a place of abundance. And abundance always attracts more abundance. Emotional detachment is one of the most powerful skills you can develop when navigating relationships. It is not about shutting down your emotions or becoming cold. It is about mastering control over your reactions, your energy, and your sense of self-worth. When you detach, you take back your power. You remove yourself from the endless cycle of emotional highs and lows that come from waiting on someone else's validation, attention, or affection. You no longer allow external circumstances to dictate your inner peace. Most people operate with attachment. They tie their happiness, their confidence, and their sense of self to another person's actions. When that person is present, they feel good. When that person pulls away, they feel lost. When that person validates them, they feel worthy. And when that person withholds, they feel rejected. This cycle is dangerous because it places all the control in someone else's hands. It makes you a prisoner to another person's moods, decisions, and behavior. But when you master emotional detachment, you free yourself from this cycle entirely. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop over-investing in situations that drain you. It means you stop making someone else the center of your world when they do not reciprocate that energy. It means you stop seeking closure where there is none. Stop chasing explanations that will never satisfy you. Stop waiting for someone to suddenly appreciate your worth when they've shown you time and time again that they don't. The power of emotional detachment is that it shifts the dynamic entirely. When you are attached, you become predictable. Your emotions are transparent, your responses are easy to read, and your behavior is dictated by the other person's actions. They know exactly how to trigger you, exactly how to get a reaction, exactly how to keep you emotionally tied to them. But when you detach, they lose that control. They no longer know what you're thinking. They no longer know if you care. They no longer know if they still have access to your energy. And that is when they start to feel the shift. Nothing unsettles someone more than realizing they no longer have the emotional influence over you that they once did. When they see that their absence does not break you, that their silence does not make you chase, that their inconsistency does not leave you desperate for answers, they are forced to rethink. They start wondering if they miscalculated your value. They start questioning why they no longer have the same effect on you. And in that questioning, they begin to feel the very emotions you once felt: uncertainty, insecurity, doubt. But the key to true emotional detachment is that it must be real. You cannot fake it. You cannot pretend to be unbothered while secretly waiting for them to notice. You cannot act indifferent while secretly hoping they reach out. The energy is different. People can sense when you are genuinely detached and when you are only pretending. That is why the real work starts within. You must train yourself to see the situation for what it is, rather than what you want it to be. You must remove the illusions, the fantasies, the what-ifs, and accept reality. If someone does not prioritize you, if they do not value your presence, if they take you for granted, then your energy must reflect that understanding. You cannot continue to give where you are not being received. You cannot continue to invest in someone who does not see your worth. And the moment you truly embrace this, detachment becomes natural. This process requires discipline. You will have moments where old habits try to pull you back, moments where your emotions try to convince you to reach out, to seek validation, to break the silence just for a sense of relief. But emotional detachment means choosing your peace over temporary comfort. It means sitting with the discomfort of change, allowing yourself to grow through it rather than seeking distractions. It means reminding yourself that you are not losing anything of real value, because anything that requires you to beg, to prove, to chase was never truly yours to begin with. And something incredible happens when you master this. you begin to realize how much energy you were wasting. You begin to see how much mental space you were giving to someone who did not deserve that power over you. You begin to feel lighter, more in control, more at peace. And as you step into this newfound self-mastery, you start attracting different energy into your life. People who respect you, situations that align with your worth, opportunities that reflect your true value. The person who once had so much power over your emotions will begin to notice the shift. They will feel the difference in your energy, in your responses, in your entire demeanor. And the irony is, the moment you truly stop needing them, that's when they start feeling the need for you. Because human nature is predictable, we crave what feels out of reach. We want what we can no longer easily have. And the moment you detach, the moment you truly move on, that is when they realize what they lost. But by then you will have already evolved beyond the need for their validation. You will have already discovered the peace that comes from within, rather than from external sources. You will have already become the person who no longer waits, who no longer begs, who no longer tolerates anything less than what they deserve. And that is the true power of emotional detachment.